Hey guys, it's your girl Deanna Green, and we have another amazing episode right here on Let's Be Raw. Today's topic is My Brother's Keeper: Sisterhood, Justice, and the Fight for Their Freedom. When I talk about this episode, I'm sure that there are plenty of us out there that either have a close one that has been incarcerated or currently incarcerated, or you know someone. So this is the episode that you definitely want to make sure that you lean into, you subscribe, you like, you share, you comment, because we're about to get real, raw, and authentic and pull back the layers on not just the justice system, but also the fight when we've got a family member that's behind bars and we want to see them free. Now, y'all know how I do. I do not introduce my guests because I always want them to do the honor, speak to you directly so you know who they are and not what they do. So, this beautiful lady right here, please do the honors and introduce yourself to the LBR community.
Hello, my name is Saraya Scott. I am founder of Carmichael's Transportation and Locked Hearts. I also am an actress, model, and a mother of four. And I am so excited to be here talking with you today.
Okay. Well, y'all see, this is not going to be a prim and proper thing. I see how this is also, make this disclaimer, this is also one of my best friends here too. So we're going to loosen this up so y'all also know how we do it too, right? We got us some little liquid courage going on right here. So
Because it's a celebration.
It is a celebration. Cheers to an amazing interview, breakthrough, real, raw, and authentic conversations, and just the fact that you are here and you have such an amazing story to talk about with you and about your brother. So, cheers, girlfriend.
Cheers.
All right, loosen up now. Ooh, yeah. Okay, we ready now. All right, we ready. So, first off, guys, this week's episode is a deeply personal one. My special guest is opening up about her fight to secure justice and freedom for her only two brothers. A journey filled with pain, strength, setbacks, and unwavering love. Miss Saraya Scott, again, welcome to Let's Be Raw. And I just want to go on and jump on in first off. And let's talk about the family dynamics, because I think what's so pivotal is the number of kids, siblings, and where your two brothers play into that. So give us some little backstory on the family life in Indiana, Gary, Indiana.
Yes, born and raised in Gary, Indiana. I'm one of 13.
One of 13.
I'm the eighth child.
Your mom and daddy were busy.
Yeah. Back then, I guess families were big and had,
Mm-hmm.
like same mom, same dad.
Mm-hmm.
But I have two brothers. They're at the top of the ladder. So it's, I fall, like I said, eighth. So it's not exactly the middle.
Okay.
But I kind of got to play both sides.
Okay.
Like sometimes I was
you would
a
want
big
to be the
girl.
baby. Yeah.
Sometimes I was a little girl.
Okay.
Depending on what was going on, and where I benefited best.
Okay. Now your two brothers, where do they play in the 13?
Well, it's my brother, sister, brother.
Okay,
sister.
So they're really right at the top. So the oldest is, now which brother is the oldest?
Carl.
Okay, and he's the one that's still in.
No, he's the one
he's one out.
Yes.
Okay, and then so there's Carl, and then a sister, and then Charles. Okay, so Charles is the one that's still incarcerated.
Not for very long, but yes.
Okay, all right, good. We're gonna get to that. Okay, talk to me about what was it like growing up one of 13, and when your brothers were still at home, and what was that like?
So that's different. That's a different question. Okay, and here's what you have to understand.
Okay,
me being eighth child.
Okay,
I felt like our family did like phases, like groups. I was so little. I was so young. So I have very little memory of them at home a lot because I'm so much younger.
Okay.
But our family is very close. I remember like vacations, family reunions.
And your brothers were there during that time. Okay.
Yeah. Family reunions, dinner. My mother cooked all the time. Instruments. When I think about them at home, these are the things that come to my mind. They both play the trumpet.
So just speaking on the two brothers again, just for context, and so we understand, you've got Charles, what's the age difference between you and Charles?
He'll be 50, I think, or 49 in May.
Okay.
So I'm 43.
Okay, so that's about six,
About
7 years. Okay.
6 to 7 years, and then Carl is 51.
Okay.
I'm
So about
43.
8, 9
Yeah.
years. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good difference. What's your first memory of? Because I'm sure prior to them actually getting incarcerated, there were some mischievous things going on. Were you privy to any of that, or did you not know what was happening until they were incarcerated?
Actually, I wasn't privy to any mischievousness. I had no knowledge.
Okay.
They weren't in the home at the time.
Okay.
So a lot of it was just like we really didn't have a close knit relationship when they were getting into their trouble or whatever.
Okay.
I was just finishing high school
Mm-hmm.
when I kind of started learning about, they were in court, going to jail and everything. And so that's when my mind started to wonder, but I still didn't really fully understand it because we come from a family that was so strict, and we grew up,
Yeah, was it Jehovah Witness?
No,
No.
we was Christians,
Christian.
but
Okay.
yeah, we, I never saw anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I never was exposed to it, and I didn't even know that they were involved in anything. So when I learned about it, I was already graduated from high school, and I kind of just was started to wonder, like, what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Started to come around, and because they didn't bring that around.
Right. So they're out the house,
Mhm.
but at this point now they're starting to have court dates and things like that.
Yeah.
Now, was it for the current situations that they were incarcerated for, or something different?
No, it's for the current situations that they were getting ready to get all this time.
Okay.
And then I'm trying, I don't know where to start, but I'm very intrigued by the situation. But little time goes on. They didn't get sentenced till around early 2000s. I graduated in 99.
Okay.
So when I learned, I wasn't in the courtroom, but when I learned about their sentence, it really just I just couldn't believe it,
What was the rippling effect as far as it within your family? Because I can only imagine your parents, right? So I always say, without your father and your mother being here to share their story and their emotional impact of it, I'm sure as a family, because both of them got sentenced pretty much at the same time, right? Because they were together. And I'm gonna I want to make sure that the audience knows, the storyline behind it. But I am curious, from the family dynamic, when that information is given to everyone, do you remember any, comments? No. Okay.
Because again, during that time we were not together. So our family was kind of like not together.
Okay.
So I learned about
estranged. It was okay.
I didn't know when. I don't know when everyone else kind of learned of the sentencing or how they reacted during that time.
Okay.
But once they became incarcerated and started serving their time, that's when I started reaching out to my brothers to see, learn the history behind what they had done, the studying the case, and I was like, there's no way we're going to serve 51 years for for robbery, because the time that they got was given to them or granted to them under an old law. It's old now.
Okay, so before we skip ahead of that, let's talk through that right there.
Yeah.
What were they actually charged with?
Robbery.
Okay.
Interfering with interstate commerce.
Okay, so robbery of what?
A grocery store.
Oh, a grocery store. Okay, yeah. Okay. So, and both brothers are together.
Yes.
During this time. Okay. So, because when you say it like that, not that I know the justice, but I'm like, okay, they robbed a grocery store. Like, who gets 51 years for that?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But were there some other pieces? Like, was there an actual, a weapon involved? Was it?
So the charge that they received under the Hobbs Act is 118 USC 924C. The charge basically was put under federal. It really should be a state case because it wasn't a bank or nothing.
Right.
They didn't kill nobody.
Right.
No, it really was a state charge, but they were trying to clean up the streets at the time and really kind of misuse the law, manipulated it to where it fit their situation
and to make it federal.
Yes, to make it federal.
Okay, so they were trying to use them and make them an example.
Exactly.
Okay.
Let me give you an example. The the law that they got charged under, just to kind of make it plain. They committed a robbery. Let's just say you committed a robbery. Back then, what this law was meant for people who had the offense, they were convicted, and then they got out, did the same offense again.
Okay. So a repeat offender.
Right.
Okay. Got it.
If you rob a store, let's say you do 2 robberies in one day, and you have a gun both times. 5 years for the first time, and then they gave them 20 years just for having a gun the second time. The law was not meant to be used that way. But they used the law to stack the guns on top of the robbery, which in turn made it a 51-year sentence for Charles.
Good God. So let's just, okay. So what type of attorney did they have? Was it a court appointed attorney?
I think they had a paid attorney.
Okay, they did.
I'm not even really sure about,
Okay.
But it's like once that law was there, it's like I always tell my kids, it's easy to get in trouble. It's hard to get out.
To get out of it.
Because it's like now you have to prove why this doesn't apply. You know what I mean? And it's just been a journey. But ultimately, the law did end up changing, but they didn't make it retroactive. So
so they were already, pretty much they were grandfathered into from the time they were served.
So now you can so for the same law, they don't apply it the same way. So
so if they committed the same crime today, what would their sentencing have been?
Probably 10 years.
Really? Compared to 51?
10, 11 years, yeah.
Wow. Okay. How has your family, because so that now that I have some more context, you don't really have a whole lot of memory and everything from just how they were, what was going on with them, what made them feel that they needed to go out and rob and all of that. Sounds like you really kind of came into it once they had been sentenced. And then now, of course, you're intrigued by what's going on and why are we getting 51 years for this? You're in high school at this point. Were you starting your journey at that point of really locking in with them and, trying to figure out what we're going to do? Or did that come later?
No, that was in the very beginning.
At the very beginning.
In the very beginning. I wanted to understand what happened. My brother started sending me cases. I remember the movie Hurricane had come out. And I was like, that's how I'm going to be about y'all, and I was serious. I'm going to fight because this could really turn around if you just have somebody willing to do that. And I wanted to be that person,
Okay.
So that's when I just, my brother started sending me the cases. Okay, this is what, and he would break it down and explain to me.
And which brother is this?
This is Charles.
Okay. All right.
And he could probably be a lawyer right now.
Yeah, I bet so.
Abreast of the law, but yeah, I made it my journey as soon as I could.
Were you the only one at this time out of, your sisters and your mom and your dad? Were you the only one that had taken a hold of this and was very passionate about it compared to, and not obviously to shun anybody, but were you the one that spearheaded it?
Yeah, and still am.
And still am, right?
Because, and I feel like it's my purpose,
right?
And I used to get upset, like, why is everybody not reacting how I'm reacting? But that doesn't mean that they don't love them less, but it's just people deal with things differently. Some of them was angry, some of them just didn't know how to deal with
disappointment,
didn't want to accept it. And so I just had a different, reaction to it all. I'm like, I'm in there with them until they out.
Until they out. Yeah. Okay. One of our questions is, how has your family as a whole been impacted emotionally, financially, and spiritually by the weight of incarceration and fighting for justice? So talk about your immediate family, just you, your boys. You took this on. You said, I'm ride or die. Like, I'm going to be there with y'all. I'm doing the time with you until we get you out. But you also have 4 boys of your own that you're also raising.
Yeah.
So, emotionally, spiritually, financially, as you're trying to fight the good fight for them, how's that impacting you and your family?
Well, when they went in, I didn't have any kids.
Okay, right? That's right. Yeah, you did. Okay.
I was just like 18, 19. But, as I began to start having children and it all became, they all boys, it's very important for me to have those hard conversations, uncomfortable conversations, because I want them to avoid the cycle of incarceration.
That's right. That breaking one of those generational curses.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And my brothers have been very instrumental in helping me raise them because they share their experiences, not to glorify it, because
right.
Sometimes
but
kids,
a cautionary tale.
Yes, but sometimes our boys, they kind of like they're
Yeah, my oldest came up
like,
with he wanted no type of lifestyle that should have ever given him the mindset that he should be over on the wrong side.
Yeah.
And to this day, I still don't understand what made him gravitate, because DJ went through the same thing. Like he left home after high school, and I knew it was the wrong decision. When he said, "I'm going back to North Carolina, Mama," I never felt like Texas was home to me. And I cried more so, not because my son was leaving, but it's almost like a mother's intuition. I was like, he's going back to the wrong environment. He's going back to hang around with the wrong people. They don't have anything going on for themselves. And one of them was my brother. So even having to be honest with myself, like, I know you idolize your uncle. That's not where you need to be. But he wouldn't listen. And sure enough, he got hooked back up with his god brother. And the next thing you know, they're breaking in their vehicles. And then, got picked up and, getting that first phone call from one of your kids saying you have a collect call, girl.
Yeah, I know.
So I hear you when you say, even when you try to do everything possible, I blamed myself. I was like, what? I gave this boy the creme de la creme of life. Like, you were never living, in environments. You never had to worry about shady people around you. You didn't see your mama robbing, stealing, shooting, killing folks. Where is this coming from?
Yeah.
Right?
We can do everything we can to try to shield them from, they ultimately have to make their own decisions.
Yeah.
And it's harder when we put too much protection around them. I grew up very strict too. So there was a lot of things I wasn't exposed to that I became curious about later in life. But at some point, we're going to be faced with, a choice, and everybody has to make their own decision. We can do everything right, and they still can take the wrong path. But my thing is just making sure that I put enough in them so that they don't make one mistake that can cost them the rest of their life.
Yeah.
They're going to make mistakes, but it's like,
they asking questions. So you had your boy, you didn't have him when your brothers went in. Now you've got your 4 boys, but you're also doing the fight with your brothers. And so was there financial strain? Was there spiritual strain? Were there moments where you said, I got my own shit to deal with? I just don't have the time to deal with this too. Like, were there those moments?
A lot of that emotional for me, because I carry it, and I carry them with me, and a lot of things that I experienced in their absence, I feel like I wouldn't have went through because I didn't have my big brothers to protect me. Some of the relationships that I've had, probably wouldn't have went the way
if your brothers were there.
Yeah, and my boys too. I feel like some ways that I could have avoided situations for them. Is one thing to kind of be there, being present really matters. It's only so much they can do over the phone, through a letter, or through a visit on a weekend,
Yeah.
But we grew up with a strong spiritual background, so that ultimately has kept us. My brothers, they have some of the strongest faith.
Yeah, I was going to say, because you have to. You sit standing up there in front of this judge, and they say you have 51 years. Like, that's more of their life behind bars than out. I just couldn't even imagine. I think I probably would literally faint. Like, I would pass out if I was standing there and a judge said, you have 51 years that you're going to be locked up. So yeah, it does require a lot of faith. I'm sure of that, and tapping into that spirituality side of you, and knowing that it's only you and God that's going to get you through each of those days and nights.
Because I'm sure at some point they had to figure out how they were going to mentally do the time. Like, it's one thing to say, okay, I'm finna fight to get out of here, but how am I going to survive? And they have stories, but a consistent pattern of doing good over years and years, decades now, both of them. They just have always been such inspiration, because it's like when they would call, be like, some days I'm having a bad day, I'm shaking in my faith, and they call, and it's like, how are you so uplifted? And you there,
right?
And I'm sitting here falling apart, let me pull myself together. So I found my strength even through them.
You start realizing
Yeah,
that your situation is not as bad as what you think it is.
exactly.
Right. Yeah.
And
For
then
real.
them being able to lean on me the same way,
Mm-hmm.
like, man, thank you, because I don't know how I would have got through this day without you. So I'm like, okay, I'm doing my job,
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's always important to
And
me.
giving back. From your perspective, what are the greatest failures of the justice system when it comes to sentencing Black and brown men? And what would real reform look like to you?
Man,
So you can break that down. What, from your
yeah,
perspective, what are the greatest failures of the justice system when it comes to sentencing Black and brown men?
I feel like it's targeted. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it
Mm-hmm.
is.
Mm-hmm.
It has been for a long time. Just even in my brother's cases, that the law that they were sentenced under
Mm-hmm.
from like 1940s. That's when
Mm-hmm.
it just didn't apply, but it helped them be able to do what they was trying to do, which was take them off the streets for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
It really didn't have nothing to do with the rehabilitation, because at 20 something years old, you
Yeah.
silly.
Yeah.
You don't have the
Yep.
same
You
mindset
still you
as
making
a 50
stupid
year old.
mistakes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no way they needed all of that time to correct themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But the programs that they offer in the behind the walls, they're not really designed to help you. A person really has to make up in their mind, I'm going to do this, and it's really a self journey. It's
Mm-hmm.
not, the programs are not, the real system is really designed to make them fall again.
Yeah,
It's
get out
oppression.
and then
Yeah.
come right on back in.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and also when you think about it, prison system is, $1 billion industry,
Absolutely.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So if there's no prisoners in there,
Right.
right, major
Privately
corporations,
owned.
exactly, can't make the
Mm-hmm.
type of money that they want to make.
Exactly.
Okay, so then from that it says, what would real reform look like to you? So if you had it in a perfect world, especially with your nonprofit Locked Hearts, what would real reform look like?
I would utilize individuals like my brothers,
Okay.
and myself, because by being associated with them, I've learned a lot too about what works, what don't, and just basically taking the system and really using it to work, like taking the parts of it that are designed to help, and actually putting real people in place that want to do the work. A lot of the staff in those places don't really care. They're just
It's a
there to
job.
collect a paycheck. And I think that's one of the biggest problems. But I don't know how we fix that inside.
Well, if you
But
had a magic wand, if they said, Saraya, you get to create prison reform from the time somebody gets sentenced, they're coming in, what programs or processes, what would you see, especially hearing, I mean, both your one brother that's out, how many years did he serve?
like 26.
Okay, current brother is still in, so he's at what year?
He's in his 26th
26
year.
as well. So you've had over 2 decades, almost 3 decades, to see how the system is broken. You've got to hear firsthand from your brothers, not, from other people, straight on what your brothers are going through, what they were lacking, what they wish they had, right? You had the magic wand and you were able to just give me like one or two major things that you want to do.
First of all, humanity.
Come on.
Treating them like humans, giving them real food, nutrition, and proper care. Putting people that really don't belong in
certain populations of it. Okay.
Just like really putting the right people in position to be able to help the individuals that want to get the help. I'm not gonna say everybody in there is living a straight and narrow life.
Because there's some that we gotta admit that do belong. There's a lot more of them that do belong in there for whatever, especially obviously a major crime like murder and rape.
But again, we have to still look at, these are human beings.
Right.
They may not deserve a royal treatment or anything, but just having just proper care for them. I think that's the number one.
Okay.
And then being able to employ staff that is fit for the job. I think that would make a huge impact.
Meaning staff that is mentally, prepared to be able to do it, knows how to deal with conflict resolution, just communication skills, those types of things.
those types of
Okay.
things. Also care about, this is a person that is trying to better themselves.
Mm-hmm.
If my job is to keep up with their track record, to make sure that they're getting into the next program that they need to help rehabilitate themselves, I'm doing my job, to help see that happen, and not saying things like, "Oh, you have this much time. Why do you don't need this program, or why would you be trying to get your GED?"
Okay, because you still got 30-something years to be up in here. What you gonna do with the GED?
Right.
Okay.
Things like that. And then on the outside, just having the right transitional programs in place so they won't return. Lowering that recidivism.
Okay. Well, guys, we're at the halfway mark. The biggest part about this first part of the segment was for you to get the backstory, to hear Saraya's introduction into the justice system, which wasn't by her way, right? No. But by her brothers. How that had some effect on the immediate family and her direct family, and what her ideas would be as far as prison reform on the outside, or in the inside, a little bit on the outside, which is what we're going to really talk about. Because when we come back for break, what I really want to dig into is, you got a brother that's home now. You got a brother that's still there. I want to dig into day an announcement of he's coming home, and what does that look like, and how are you preparing, and and the day you go to pick him up. So all of that, guys, we're going to really get into the juicy and the heart part of this. So y'all stay tuned, lock in. Please, we want to give a special shout out to our amazing sponsor, the Biz Lounge, which is where we are shooting the Let's Be Raw podcast. Take a look at this video, schedule a tour, come out and check us out. We'll be right back. The Biz Lounge is redefining the concept of workspaces by incorporating state-of-the-art technology with ergonomic designs in a space to foster creativity and productivity.
It's not just a workspace. This is a dynamic ecosystem designed for growth, inspiration, and connection.
We'll see you at the Biz Lounge. Welcome back, guys, to our episode on Let's Be Raw, My Brother's Keeper. Sisterhood, justice, and the fight for their freedom. So if you're just now tuning in, I encourage you to start the video all over again to make sure you do not miss the intro and the important pieces of us kicking off this episode with Miss Saraya Scott. So prior to us going to break, we really just kind of talked about the family dynamic. She's one of 13. Out of the 13, it was only 2 boys, and those 2 boys found themselves behind the walls. I like how you said that. So not behind bars. I like that. Behind the walls, serving potentially 51 years each, right? No, 50.
31. Carl was sentenced to 31.
Okay.
Charles 51.
Okay. Oh, goodness. Yeah, okay. So that's what we kind of talked about on the first part of the episode. Now we're going to really talk about, Saraya has been champion since high school, since it all started. And she now gets the notification, email, phone call. Like, what happens when you find out that Carl is getting an actual release date?
So, federal time is like, you have to do, what is it, like 85% or something?
Okay.
He had 31 or 31 and a half years. So he's served 26. So he was up for probation.
That seems like more than 85%. I'm just saying, like, did they get a couple more years out of him? Or did he? Was it really? Okay.
I don't really know the whole math, but it's something like, it's different from state.
Got it.
But he really pretty much has served majority
the required of his time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was up for probation. We had been petitioning for him for years, obviously both of them, and then we tried the compassionate release, clemency.
Was that during COVID?
Yeah.
Because I remember you telling me, like, there was there was some possibility that they were both going to be able to get out during the whole COVID situation.
Well, there's always possibility.
Oh, okay.
And every time we fighting for something, I'm hopeful that that's it. I feel like this is the time every time.
Got it.
And
so you go through those emotions of elation, getting all your hopes up high and all of that.
I don't know how not to believe that.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is it. And then when it's not, I'm like, that's okay. What's next?
Right.
You know?
Right.
And just doing all of that. But Carl was up for probation. We didn't know exactly how that was going to come about, but when he learned, he had asked me early on, like years ago, like if he could come here with me, because obviously I have Carl Michaels Transportation,
right?
Bread
that you started, so that your brothers coming out would be able to be gainfully employed in a family business. I love it.
Also, so I started that business. It was Carl's idea. Well, he told me to get into trucking. Because obviously a lot of people incarcerated, they gravitate towards trucking because it's felon friendly. You can make a lot of money quickly. It's just kind of laid back. So he had been talking about it with me for years. Then I kept saying, like, every job I get is taken away from me fighting for them. Like, I just wasn't spending enough time on it.
Because you're on you're clocking in on a 9 to 5.
So I needed to find something that I could do that could help me make money and support them at the same time. So Carl Michaels Transportation. Now I have my own business that they can come home to. It's here for them to be able to prosper from. They can take care of their families when they get here. And it's also serving a bigger purpose, freedom, So
you get, so how did you, so you get, he's been told, okay, you're serving, you've got probation. And then obviously now they need to figure out, where is he going to go when he comes out?
So he had given them my address. I was point of contact, for a while. And so they contacted me and told me that he would put my address down. He wanted to come here. Then as it got closer, they don't tell you everything in the beginning. It's like a gradual process due to breach of security and things. They couldn't tell me like when, what time, and all of that when I first learned.
Oh, wow.
It was just like, oh, okay. So at the closer he got to coming home, the more information
they started kind of like dripping you information.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when they approved him to come to my house here,
what do you have to go through? I want you to skip over that because I think it's important for people that if you haven't experienced it or you might be going through it right now and you just need to understand, what does that look like, right? Because obviously you're happy about the fact that your loved one is coming home, but there's a whole lot, and I've only learned it being self-removed and being your close girlfriend, and I'm sure I don't even know everything of what you've had to go through to prepare your home. You got still 4 boys. You got this other extended family too, like who's helping, being a part of that as well. So talk through that part. Just even getting you deciding that, yes, you could come here. And what did that look like? Because that changes your environment. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. So I was, me, I'm like, come on.
Right.
I think that it was important for him to they want to be a part of something that I've created for them, which is the business. I've always told them there is no obligation, right. This is here, I want you to be able to benefit from it, help me if this is something that you want to do. But the process really was for them to kind of figure out who I was, what my position was, if I had a job, if I had a decent home for them to come to.
So they came and did an inspection and all of that.
And inspect.
Okay.
They asked me about my job. They did a background check on me.
Did they do background checks on any of the extended people that you just kind of come into contact with, or was just only on you?
Just on me.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm the only adult in my home.
Okay, got it.
They did a background check, and then they came out to do a preliminary check before they approved the address, before they approved them to come to me.
So I'm just curious. Yeah. You're one of 13. Why you? Why didn't he want to go back to your mom and daddy house or to your other sister's house or whatever?
I think honestly, I would say, I haven't asked them, but I assume because I've been there,
champion all the way,
and we have this close relationship. And again, he wants to be a part of the things that I have put in place. And I think that's ultimately why,
Was your family okay with it? That you were the one that,
Yes. Yes.
And I only ask these questions again because I'm thinking about obviously the person that is watching this or the people that are watching this. And if you're in those situations and you're trying to be the sibling or the, family member that wants to help this person, but then other people are in their feelings about why didn't he want to come to me, or why, right? So you see what I'm saying? So just trying to understand.
But you know what? It's not a secret. Everybody in my family knows I don't play about them brothers.
Right?
Like, this is my priority. This is my passion. This is my purpose. I live by it. Freedom is an urgent matter. And this is what I've always done. Mm-hmm. So I don't think that it was a surprise.
Okay.
I think they support me because knowing that this is a lot, I'm taking on.
Yeah.
And they support it, but I'm like, when you get here, if you decide this ain't what you want to do, right, and you want to go with this sister, we're always teasing each other like, yeah, like make each other jealous. Because there's only two boys, and it's all of us girls.
That's
so
right.
We're just funny like that, but it's all in love,
Okay, so tell us about the day you go to pick him up. Who's with you?
Oh my goodness! So his daughter, who was only 4 when he went in, it was so important to him. He was like, I need you to have. He was like, because I was in the beginning, I was like, okay, I'm gonna come and get you. What kind of car are you? He was like, I want my daughter to come and get me. And I was like, oh, okay.
Okay.
I support you.
Right.
I said, well, I will help her. And then the closer it got, I noticed she needed some support. This is a lot for her.
Right.
They have kept their relationship through the years.
Was she going regularly or is it irregularly as far as?
No, they had a good relationship.
Okay.
They have close near relationship. She was visiting and everything. Okay. She had got married and had kids and all that while he was locked up. So she's different now, but she was ready, and I just wanted to be there to support her. I could not be there. Right. I could not.
Of course. Come on now.
Well, I'm going to help her, So I'm like, this is exciting. So then he didn't want me to tell anybody.
Okay.
Because
he didn't want you to tell anybody that he was officially getting out.
No, he didn't want me to tell anybody.
Was it because y'all had been through moments of we think it's going to happen and it didn't happen and all of that?
I never asked him that.
It's almost like don't jinx it. Like, don't go tell anybody, right?
I think it's like, we got to really make sure this is going to go all the way. And so he's just really private like that. And he was like, well, I don't want you to share with nobody. So I was like, okay, I don't know how long I'm going to keep this secret.
Yeah, you told me.
For a little bit. I did for a little bit. Then I was like,
don't tell nobody.
Listen, guess what?
Right.
So then I called a family meeting. And I'm like, y'all, I ain't supposed to be telling y'all this. So when he called, y'all don't know nothing. But I need y'all help.
Right.
And we planned and we overthought everything. We just like, oh my goodness, everybody is so excited. But me and his daughter, Carlton, we had planned to just go. And as I was telling my sister, they were like, I'm going. I'm going too. I'm going. And I was like, okay, whatever.
Right.
Like, I'm not telling him that I told y'all.
Right.
But it was so good because we all drove down. He was in Milan, Michigan. We all drove down. Flew down. I flew. They drove.
Okay.
Stay closer. But
and we meaning how many of the family members are?
So it was me and maybe like 4 or 5 sisters and a few of my nephews.
Okay. But your mom and dad weren't there.
No.
Okay.
No. So some of them hopped on board last minute.
Okay.
Me and Carlton, they had outfits. We had got him an outfit.
Yeah, because I want you to talk about that because I think that's even important when you think about your loved ones coming out. And what was interesting to me when you were telling me the story was the things that he wanted you to bring for him.
He had sent me a list.
Tell us about the list.
All the colognes that he wanted to wear.
Cologne.
Okay. YSL, Creed.
Wait a minute, he been behind the walls and he know about YSL, Creed. And oh my God, he never smelled them. But that's what he heard. Okay, got it.
Number 9.
Wait a minute. He was going for the $5 ones.
I told him,
he didn't want no juice. He didn't want no curve. He didn't want none of them that you can still buy at TJ Maxx.
No, he didn't.
Oh my God, girl, go ahead.
This is what he was requested.
Right.
And you know me, I'm like,
I know you.
This is the thing. And so he had a list, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get you an outfit. We don't know what size he is, so he went through like maybe 2 or 3 emails where he's like, I'm gonna get measured again today because the last person didn't know what they was doing. We looking at the sizes like,
because you do have to. So
Yeah.
they leave out. They're not leaving out obviously in the prison garment. You have to bring
well, they
something for them.
can.
Oh,
But
okay. Because
that's
sometimes if
optional.
they don't,
Yeah.
okay,
If they
got
don't
it.
have anybody,
Okay, got it.
But yeah, we didn't want him to
Right, of course.
We had to get
Gotta
you
leave
out of
that stank behind the
Yes.
walls. Right.
So he was trying to figure out his sizes, and they just
Did he ask you for some sunglasses too? Why do I remember you telling me he wanted some sunglasses?
I told him I was gonna get him some Versace sunglasses. I did. But yeah, once we figured out his sizes were kind of guesstimated. We said, the jogging suit is gonna probably be the best thing to do. So we was like, let's get some matching ones. So we did that, and then the sisters at the last minute they coming on like, okay, we're gonna drive down. We're finna go get us some Nike Tech outfits too. And it just turned out that all of us was in the same outfit.
It was a great day.
Yeah. So we went to go pick him up. They were trying to put him on the bus. He said,
to go where?
To come here.
Oh.
Because when they told me that I was like, I want to come and get him. They were like, well, that's a long way from Milan, Michigan to Texas.
Because you had to drive. You couldn't.
No, if I was trying to drive, but they was like, that's a long way. The only way you can fly with him, but you got to purchase the tickets.
Oh.
So I said, well, we're going to fly.
Fly, yes.
We're going to fly first class.
Right. Oh, my goodness. Come on here. Like brother walked out and he was just on cloud 9.
He did. Spoiled rotten out the gate. We made it happen. Family pitched in. We got our tickets, and we was able to get to the airport. We all was together. Like when he came out, it was pouring down, raining, but we didn't care. We was having a party in the parking lot. It might
be God crying, crying for his release, right? Yes. Y'all this has just been a day that y'all have been praying for almost 3 decades.
Yeah, truly.
Yes.
The first place we went to was the gas station. He got a pack of gum. I was like, that was strange, but
that leads me into the other part of it. Is one of the things that you shared with me was some of the things that we have taken for granted, right? I really want to talk about that because I felt like that's where there was a lot of realness, rawness, and that authenticity, right? He's been gone for 26 years. So much in the world has happened in 26 years. Whereas we've been out, and so we've just naturally adapted to those changes, right? Yeah. Things like a cell phone. Well, shoot, even before that, it was a pager, right? Then it was the phone in your car and the little bag thing, right? Or the flip phone, right? Or now we got an iPhone. Like, there's so much that has happened in 26 years, right? Just even what's available to eat. How do you
pay?
How do you pay? How do you search for things on the internet? I want you to talk about that because I remember one day you and I were going to look at this land that you bought, and we're going to touch on that too. Just how you are so family centric and all about trying to make sure that I bring everybody along and together. And we're riding out to this land that you purchased, and you on the phone with him, and you just kept saying, just Google it. Just Google it, right? And then you got on the phone and you said, I have to remember, like he's not used to that. Right. So talk about I think it would be so cool just for you to share those moments y'all have had in the last few months where you've just been like, this is just common sense. And he's like, but it's not,
no clue
sis.
What you're talking about.
I have no clue.
Yeah, it's cute, and it's also kind of a little like,
right.
Because he's my big brother.
Right.
So when I look at him, from the natural sense of it, it's like I look up to him. You know what I'm saying? It's my big brother, but it's a lot of things that he don't know. He holds it very well because you wouldn't even know.
Okay.
But he had to remind me, like, I'm still kind of a little socially awkward because I don't know none of the stuff you're talking about. Something as simple as when we was in the airport, he went to the bathroom and he took a while. He came out. He was kind of frustrated. He was like, I didn't realize that there was no handles on the faucet. Like, I didn't know how to turn on the water.
Oh, because it's all motion sensor.
And then he said, and I guess the little white foam stuff was soap coming out. I was like,
wow.
And it's like,
but that's
we don't even think about.
We don't even think about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's the simplest things. When he learned that the phone could FaceTime, he's like, now he didn't want to talk to nobody the first few days out. He was like, He'll look at the phone. You don't got FaceTime? Oh, call me back.
He done already adapted. He like, yeah, you behind the times if you ain't got FaceTime on your phone.
I'm like, download that stuff so I can see them on video. You want to look at everybody. But it's just so cute. I tell
what
him,
about food?
Oh,
because that's what you talked about that it's just poor food, nutrition, and all of that in there. How is food integration into his diet?
I think that he eats a lot.
Yeah,
he just want to try everything.
I don't blame him.
You know, he really appreciates a good meal. You know, and he's like, okay. I took him to get a smoothie, and he was like, I don't never gotta have this again. I'm like, it's healthy. He's like, wait a minute,
this pureed baby food. I done had enough.
That's what he said. He's like, baby food.
Yeah,
I'm like, that's good. This is a smoothie.
Yeah,
like, give me a milkshake. But I told him that the world is changing every day. Don't be afraid to ask questions because
we still ask questions.
My kids help me with my phone.
Mine too.
And so he called them and they screen share. Okay, let me take control. They remote and show him everything. But yeah, it's a lot. He just
that's hella cool.
He doesn't. He was like, I'm just gonna spend cash. And I'm like, a lot of places don't even
take that. Yeah.
So he's learning, but
so you've done things like, has he gotten a bank account?
Yes.
Okay, so bank account
last week.
So IDs, things like that.
ID. So that was one of the biggest things that I didn't. We both were nervous about him coming out. We was excited, but we was like, we don't know what this is going to be like. So it's been a lot challenging for both of us. Me being patient with him and his process, and him just being comfortable with letting me help him because he feels like he's taken away from my time and everything. But before coming to the halfway house, we were trying to work on his credentials. But by being gone so long, it's hard to just
go down to DMV and say, I need,
So we had to get my mother to send his birth certificate, and that was ultimately the ticket for him to get out and get his other.
Shout out to mom for still holding on to that birth certificate.
Well, she's gonna get another one, but
okay, all right. But shout out for mom for going to do that. Yeah, I still have all my kids, and they be like, "Mama, it belong to me now." I'm like, "Look, I promise you, there's gonna be a day that you're gonna need to come to me and be like, Mama, I don't have my birth certificate, so I keep one on record as well." Yeah.
But all those things, like he got to start over,
right?
So he got to get his birth certificate, to get his ID and his social, and then
what about driving? Because 26 years of not being behind the wheel and all of that, like, has he even started attempting to do that?
He's been looking at this Houston traffic, like,
I don't blame him.
But he's learning his way around just by paying attention to me. He was telling me, "You just missed your exit. You need to start driving it." I think he's ready.
He's ready.
I think he knows he's going to remember how to drive. He just want to make sure that he has his credentials in order, his insurance, license, and all that. So it's a work in progress. And then everything is like, with him being in the halfway house, he's limited on time. Okay. So we have to schedule things and get passes.
Is it certain hours? Like, he has to be in at a certain time and then he can't leave out until a certain time?
So he has a job now. So he can work, and then he gets to get out on weekends and, during certain times.
Okay. So let's talk about, I think, something that's even sensitive. Both brothers, one got 26 and one got 51, but they were together, right? 51 years, right, with Charles, and 31 with Carl. Okay. Why? Yeah, if they were together.
4 of them, but I think Charles was present during multiple times or something like that.
So the group of them 4 had been robbing several times. And so they got him on the fact that they could pinpoint that he had been at a couple more than Carl had more counts. Okay. So that clears that part up. Okay. Now where Carl is out, we know he's getting out and everything, because they aren't even in the same facility, right? So Carl was in Michigan, and where is Charles?
He's now in Thompson, Illinois.
Okay, all right. So let's talk about something that's real. Was there guilt? And I'm just wondering, from your brother, with Carl being out, was there any feelings of guilt, like, I'm out now but my brother's not out? How have you felt about that, you've been fighting for both of them, obviously, and one is out, but the other one is still there.
Even when I learned that Carl was coming out, I didn't even tell my other brother right away.
Yeah.
Because I just felt like,
yeah, that's
I
hard.
have always said they coming out together. And we're not leaving nobody behind, but we don't
you don't control it.
And so me personally, I had guilt, even though I have really no reason to, but I just feel away because I'm like, he deserves it just as much, I can't speak for my brother, but I think that he does feel something because,
yeah,
that's his little
brother. Yeah.
And he used to always say, I don't want it without him, but I tell him too, like, we got to keep going,
Well, and a good part of it to look at it is, while you can certainly help both of your brothers transition from behind the walls to being, free, your brother Carl can do something way better for Charles than you can, which is he can be out, truly get integrated, and be able to speak from that side of it. So, him looking at it from that, you're the big brother, and I can only imagine, even I think about it with my siblings. I'm the oldest of 4. So I'm very protective over my siblings. Even when they make some of the stupid decisions, there's times where I would be like, well, if I just would have, told them this or said this or been this type of sister where they have made that decision. Obviously, knowing that at the end of the day, they were grown, they were going to do what they wanted to do, but there's still some sense of onus that goes on you. So I would think, obviously, from Carl being the older brother and his youngest brother is still in there, feeling some kind of way, but also understanding that this may be the torch that he has to carry. So when your brother does come home, he can be like, bro, I already got it. This is what we going to do. This is how we do it, right?
Yeah, that's how we approach it.
Yeah.
Was telling him recently, like, enjoy your journey too. Still fight for him. We still gonna do that. Freedom is an urgent matter.
Right.
But I know that he wants us to do great things too. Like, still enjoy.
I like that.
And, appreciate, because he is that type of brother. It's like he is so selfless. He is just so about everybody. He's so excited for everybody else. And he deserves it so much. But he has watched a lot of people go, before him, and he still root for them. He's like, God got something for me, and I just admire that about him so much. It's like,
Well, it also validates and reconfirms for you that everything you've been doing was all the right things, and you had the right reasons and the right heart behind it as well. Because again, full transparency, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that are fighting for their loved ones, and to some degree really know that their loved one probably still need to be behind the walls, right? And they fight more so out of obligation, not necessarily because they truly know who this individual is. They truly have been reformed, they've been rehabilitated, and they have still so much more that they can offer to this world. And that's what it sounds like.
And that's what Charles said one time. He's often writing about, what he's doing in there. He's done over 20,000 hours of, time just working on himself, over 2 decades of mentoring. It takes a lot of work to do the right thing, but it takes even more work to help other people do the right thing.
Yeah.
And he has changed so many people's lives. People call me that has gotten out, and they just talk about him and how much they love him and how much he's helped them, and he prayed with them and he helped. And it's just like so beautiful to hear.
So God got something special.
That's what he's doing in there. He's not like, I'm doing the right thing, I'm doing good, I don't know what I'm about. He's helping other people to change their life too.
So
his turn is coming.
Let's imagine, right, that the day is here. Both brothers are home. What's that day look like?
Oh my goodness.
How we feeling? How we acting?
The first thing I think about is my family. My family hasn't been together in so many years. Like everybody. Like, if we can just all be, and I've said this to them, I just want to experience us all in the same room at the same time.
Yeah.
We ain't even got to do nothing.
You ain't got to speak. Just the energy.
We are all in the same room together. That is going to be.
Because it's 13 amazing. Plus parents. That's 15. Well, and that's just the brothers, the siblings. That's not all everybody's children.
Yes.
Yes. Like, talk about a family reunion. Like, that's what y'all have to plan. Like, this huge, amazing family reunion.
Since our family has kind of been coming back together over the past years, right after COVID, I say, I always say, Thanksgiving, let's plan. Nobody make plans. Thanksgiving, my mother used to put a leaf in the table. That's just how many
was in it.
Was. We had to add. So I always say,
girl, y'all gonna have to go to a banquet hall.
I said, y'all, Thanksgiving, pull a leaf out, Mama. The brother's coming home. So I'm planning to do something for my big brother, because he'll be.
Because he gets all the major holidays because he came home early. So all the major holidays this year.
So Thanksgiving, we're gonna do something family.
Okay.
And I'm just praying. Charles's birthday is May 7th. I always try to.
That's next week.
Yeah, I always try to look for dates. And I'm like, okay, May 7th. Okay, Thanksgiving. We're shooting for this. You come. Let's plan to be here for your birthday. So that's the next big thing we're looking forward to. I'm looking for a miracle. I serve a mighty God.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm like,
anything can
happen. So I'm always just gonna spend another birthday in here.
But and the other thing I want to make sure people know too, that some of the ways you've been fighting, like you've even done recently with our current administration. Now, everybody doesn't agree with this man that's in office, but you put aside your personal feelings. And you saw that there was an opportunity to be able to write to him and someone else he had offered clemency to or something. Talk about that, because again, it's one thing to say, I don't like this administration because of my personal, but I'm going to put that aside because I'm still fighting for my brother who is still incarcerated.
Yes, and you don't have to agree with somebody completely on all their views.
Right.
But when Trump signed the First Step Act in 2018.
It's the first, what was
the First Step Act.
First Step Act, okay.
Which gave a lot of relief for people like my son's father, who was he was a nonviolent first-time offender.
Okay.
So he was able to benefit from that. So he has done some good.
Okay.
Right. So that's what I kind of focus on when my approach. Who, from that book, Finding Your Who.
Yeah, that's right.
Who could we reach out to? Because it only takes really one person or one yes for this to happen. And so I've seen what he's done for people that I even know very closely, like Charles Duke Tanner. He was able to get relief from President Trump. He gave him clemency. So it's possible.
What does that look like? Do you know enough about that to be able to kind of explain it to us, the whole process with clemency? Is it you writing a letter and you pleading the case and doing things like bringing up that they're, behind the walls because of an outdated law? Like, what does that look like? Is that an individual doing it? Do you have to have an attorney trying to do this fight for you? What does that look like?
I don't think it doesn't necessarily need to be an attorney.
Okay.
I think it's just about being able to tell your story to someone who could actually see where it makes sense for that to happen. Everybody's story is different, and maybe not all of the laws. Like I said, my brother's situation, they didn't make that law retroactive, so they can't say, "Oh, the law changed." I mean, yeah, it did, but what else? So now we're saying, look at what he's done over all these years. Look at the consistency. Look at the time that he got for what the crime was. The story is compelling. It's extraordinary. This is a situation that needs to take a closer look. Somebody needs to pay attention to this. It's not right.
Right.
And so I think that just being able to bring awareness and enough attention to it is really what helps make something like a pardon happen. So just constantly reaching out to the right people and being the voice, because people get lost. Far too many voices are silenced, because once they get in there, sometimes family fade off.
Yeah.
And they forgot life goes on, and that's not nobody's fault really, but the person who made the mistake. But there's not enough voices, and I'm just trying to be that for my brothers. And then for other people, I've fought for freedom for so many other people, and it's a passion. I'm like, I need to help more people. So I
Yeah.
know there are so many other families that admire this courage that I have, but I hope that I'm inspiring somebody
You are.
to step up and do something for their loved one.
Yeah, because the other thing is it's easy to only fight for our loved ones, and then once they're home, it's like, okay, the fight is over, I'm done, and let's move on. But having locked hearts, creating Carmichael's transportation, all of those things, buying 13 acres of land in order for you to build an entire, compounds for your, not just you and your boys, but your brothers and your family and your legacy and all of that is a true testimony to just who you are and the very heart and core of who you are. So don't stop fighting at all.
I can't.
Yeah. Guys, this has been an amazing episode. And I always say that it's always, when I first have the ladies on, we always just scratch the surface, right? We talk about everything from the 30,000 foot level. So we do know that Saraya's story is not finished because she does still have one brother that is behind the walls that she is fighting for every day to come home. So we're going to have her back here on the couch talking about the day that Charles has come home.
I have to bring them with
me. Yes. So that was the other thing I was going to say is the continuation of this is I would love to be able to have them here to hear their story and to give you your flowers. Because I'm sure that they are like, I would not have been able to get through many days, many nights, just everything without having my sister. Right. So
you just saying that, just like, wow, imagine them being able to hand me flowers.
Yes. We are going to make that happen. Guys, after this video, we're going to have Saraya talk about her Locked Heart organization. It is a nonprofit organization. It is an organization that needs your support. It needs your help. It needs your resources. It needs your money to get it off the ground, to be able to take it to higher levels, to not just assist her and her immediate family, but possibly somebody in your family. So make sure you stay tuned and locked in after this episode is over. But before we leave out, Miss Saraya, is there anything you want to say to Charles? Is there anything that you just want to give encouraging words to our audience of anybody that has gone through this or is going through this, or even those that have come out and are no longer behind the walls? Is there anything you want to say?
Yes. First thing that comes to mind is I don't think that people realize how important it is just to show love and support to individuals who are locked up, regardless of the mistakes that they're made. Look at them as a person. A simple card or just an act of kindness will go a long way. And so if there's anybody that you know or somebody that you know that just was released, a kind word or act of kindness would just really help.
Yeah. All right, guys. I'm going to end this on number one. This is a special episode, not just because of the storyline, not just because I've got my best friend sitting here, being open, honest, transparent, real, raw, all of those key words. But this is the last episode of season 1 of Cheers. Let's Be Raw, right? Okay, so we're going to cheers to that. Yes. Make sure that you subscribe, like, share, comment, and then stay locked in with us. Let's Be Raw Media has so many other platforms that we're going to be unveiling in 2025. This platform is all about giving women an opportunity to share their story, to offer support, guidance, to be there for other women, whether it's domestically or globally. And when I tell you Let's Be Raw, we are also here to meet you where you are. So whether you're on this couch on the podcast, you're a part of the upcoming anthology book that Let's Be Raw will be publishing, or you want to be on an international stage at our conference and wellness retreat in Zanzibar in 2026, you want some media publication to get your brand and your name out there, make sure you also featured in the Let's Be Raw magazine. We've got fireside chats coming. When I tell you there's so much going to be happening with Let's Be Raw Media, this will be the platform that you need to be connected to let the world know that you are here, to stay, and you have a story to share. We'll see you on season 2. Good night.
Bye.
Have you ever wondered how to keep up with the pace of our rapidly evolving world? How to seize the opportunities that are often fleeting in today's fast-paced lifestyle? Introducing Knock Knock, the digital solution designed to help you connect in even the most frenzied environments. Whether you find yourself in the midst of a bustling conference, navigating the chaos of an airport, or immersed in the vibrant city nightlife, Knock Knock empowers you to make connections seamlessly. With just a simple tap, you can integrate contacts instantly, ensuring no opportunity slips through your fingers. But Knock Knock isn't just about networking. It's about bridging the gap between your various brands. With Knock Knock, switching between your brands becomes as effortless as a single tap. No more navigating through endless web links or scanning QR codes. Knock Knock is the app that brings networking and e-commerce into the palm of your hand, making connections, making sales, and managing your brands effortless and instantaneous. Welcome to the revolution of technology and networking, brought to you by the Knight & Group Technologies division. With Knock Knock, the power to connect is just a tap away.